This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Let me share with you what my Reverend Father friend sent to me this morning. Quite interesting. Father Kajetan Odo. He's saying today is Palm Sunday, the beginning of the Holy Week. This week calls for our mind the joyful entrance of Jesus into Jerusalem to accomplish the great mystery of our redemption through his suffering, death, and resurrection. It is clear that he willingly laid down his life for us. He did not sneak in, but entered with a bang, marching triumphantly into the city where he emptied himself for us. What caught my eye here is willingly lay down his life. So we begin to wonder what we do today in our own small spaces. Is it within the family space, the workspace, the leadership we have? Are we following these examples? Are we willingly sacrificing just so that we have a better society?
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Alibaba, ATUNYOTA, AKPOBOME, last Alibaba. He is my special guest for today. And the topic for today is the prize for superstardom. You know, you see celebrities, you see superstars, and you think it's just all honky-donkey. You know, these guys are enjoying. Wow, how I wish I am this person. So today we are going to discuss what it takes and the kind of life they live that you see and what it takes to maintain and live that levels of life and the kind of the sacrifices they make just so that you continue to revere them as you do. So today's topic again is the prize for superstardom, and my special guest is Alibaba. Alibaba, welcome to the discourse.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. As is traditional, let me take a very short profile of Alibaba. Alibaba, as he has come to be known, is a consummate stakeholder in the entertainment space. He has a career that spanned over 35 years in the creative industry, helping to build capacity and igniting the development in various subsectors of the creative dynamics. Alibaba has been a pivotal player in helping stand-up comedy. He mentors, supports, promotes, and selflessly guides young people and ensures that upcoming comedians, I like to call them humor merchants, get the needed accolades they deserve. He's an icon in the entertainment industry, sharing his wealth of experience for celebration and monetization of talents across the creative spectrum. Alibaba is also CEO of XQZMOI television and an established philanthropist. It took me almost the whole week to be able to summarize Alibaba's profile and CV. What a life you have created, Alibaba, and I'm very happy to have you in the studio today. I know you are millions and millions of followers must be listening out there, and then the others who do not know you today will get inspiration. You know, I've spent over 30 years building brands, you know, so that is the life I live, you know, building brands. So on my way to the studio, I had questions listed down, but I said to myself, ask Alibaba, you know, if he was a brand, let's say in whatever category you choose, how would you have described the brand Alibaba?
Service to people, essential for life, and a product that keeps giving. And a dynamic product as well. Those are the elements that I use to describe the kind of brand that we have, because it is justified by the fact that you, as a comedian, you are as funny as your last joke. You have to be fresh all the time. I'll give you an example. If an artist is on stage performing, he can do a song at the beginning of an event. He'll play the same song again in the middle of that event, and can play it like 3, 4, 5 times all through the event and just put it in the medley. It could be Moshori, Reo, Eledami, Modukbeo, and then play it again and play it again and play it. If you're a comedian, if you tell a joke once at an event, that's it. The other thing is, as a comedian, when you stand up there on stage, you kill yourself or save yourself. It's a monologue performance, and you are the one that saves yourself. And so nobody's coming to your rescue unless when the MC comes to save you from bullying yourself. So you are the one that holds your life in your hands. The other thing is that people expect you to be ready to deliver anytime, no matter what situations you're going through. You may have a divorce, your child may be in the hospital. Someone had called me one time and I told him, I said, I'll get to you shortly. I just had a flat tire. And he's like, on the day you are performing for me, I think did I?
If you just hold it there, Alibaba, because I've come to those questions. In fact, the lines I can even see some messages already. So I'll come to that because that is the kernel of today's conversation.
Sure.
You know, those things that you experience as people in that space that people think or do not know. They think it's as simple as that, but it takes a hell lot. In fact, I was just looking at Alibaba and I'm saying, okay, let's say you in the brand
Spectrum,
and if it was a vehicle, is he a Toyota? No. Is he a Mercedes? Maybe. Is he a BMW? Yes and no. So I was just cracking.
No. I think when you go to vehicular
the
categorization,
yes.
I have I just like some kind of artist have crossed that Rubicon of becoming not as essential anymore, but now
it's a way of life.
Yes, like privileged performance. So you are now like in that area where people who like luxury will come to.
Premium or not?
So yes, you are now like an agbabola. So and people get to that status with the years of experience. You earn it. Yes, exactly. That's the word. You earn that status. But when you earn that status, it then further challenges you to the point that you have to continuously justify to people why you earn the status.
That's the most difficult stage.
Exactly. You have to continuously justify to people
that. Yes,
why
keep
you
it fresh.
always end that. I had that issue in 2016.
Okay.
That a lot of people were going, oh, why do they call him King of Comedy? What is he? So I did a 6 hours performance. 3 hours first show, 3 hours second show. And the first show I didn't repeat any joke. In the second show I didn't repeat any joke. So I just did 6 hours straight. And then people then go, you know, it's like the story of Ebenezer Obey when he said the story of the guy that was riding a horse, and they were telling him, why are you sitting on the horse? You and your child, come down. He came down. And then he said, okay, why are you walking and your child is on the horse? Get the child down, you sit on the horse. And then people were like, your son is walking, and then both of you are walking. So
there's no way you
satisfy everyone. So and when I then did that, and somebody then said, what is he trying to prove? You are good, then just keep quiet. There's no need to try. And somebody made a statement to me that day, and he said, the cheetah and the dog, when it comes to a race, the cheetah has nothing to prove.
Yeah.
It has nothing to prove. The only people who do not know that the cheetah is faster are people who do not know who the cheetah is. So what you need to do is not prove to people that I'm faster. It's introduce yourself to people and say,
now, this is who I am.
This is who I am.
Let's talk education a bit.
Okay.
What type of education do you have? What did that type of education help, or did that type of education help in your skill acquisition?
Okay.
And again, is that responsible for the capacity that you have built over the years?
Okay, so one of the things that my parents bequeathed
because people don't know that people in this place are well educated.
Exactly. One of the things that let me just quickly mention that many of my colleagues now that have PhDs, some have masters, many of us have masters. Now, so what my parents bequeathed me was education.
Okay.
And somebody asked me 2 days ago and said, if you were to change something across the world, what would it be?
Okay.
It is to give formal education to people between the ages of birth and 10.
And 10. So critical.
It is important. It is failure to do that makes people not know the value of life, not know the essence of humanity, and not knowing that you have to respect each other's space and values
and boundaries.
All of that is through education.
Yeah.
I was telling one guy the other day, I said, why are you touching the lady. She's not responding to you, and you're dragging her. He said, that's how women behave. I said, you see, if you're educated enough, you know that that's sexual harassment.
Yes.
And the guy said, sexual harassment, it doesn't work. But you see, if you're, exactly. But if you're educated enough, you know that that could, exactly, it will escort you straight into some jail term.
Yes. So,
the other thing is, when you say something like no is no to certain people, because they are not educated, they will argue with you. So, you know, some women, when they say no, they actually mean yes. So when you get jail term, it actually means yes too. You know, so you have to learn that a burning issue. Now, you know, I said we're going to talk about some burning issues in national space. A group of men will not go and kill military men when you know that you shouldn't even kill any human being
in the first place.
Then the people you now killed are not just military men. You are talking a lieutenant colonel, majors, and rankings. But you see, if you are educated enough, you will know that dialogue and justice are the best way to get anything you want
done.
Not violence. You know, it has come to my notice that people who are not educated, when it's time to argue any issue, they resort to violence,
to force
or raise their voices, because to them raising their voices or being violent is the best way to express themselves. Like they say, which now comes to education that I was talking about, if the only thing you have is a hammer, everything is a nail.
Yes.
If somebody comes and says, oh, how is it? You say, use the hammer. Or do you think this would work? You say, use the hammer. Because that is the only thing you have. And so, for me, education was very important. And my dad made sure that, well, you can also then argue that because he was in the education sector, because it was the 2IC Nigerian Army Education Corps in Ojo Cantonment at the time. But he changed his service from the teaching service to the Nigerian Army. He was a teacher in Abraka, he was a headmaster in Otokutu, he was a headmaster in Ugeli. So he just moved his service to, because back then, you know, there was fluidity of employment. And you know, we had the ministry back then that had like nearly everything. Federal Ministry of Labor, Works, Productivity, and Power. One long ministry that had nearly everything. That was where he then went to serve his last years in service, put his last years in service. So my dad ensured that I could read, and I started reading at the age of 3. So I read the West African Pilot, I read the Tribune, I read the New Nigerian newspapers, I read Tide, I read Observer, and the Reader's Digest. And many people do not know that Nigeria had a Reader's Digest at the time. Back in the 70s, we had a Reader's Digest that the Daily Times group used to produce here. And so some of those books helped to shape my mind, to open my mind to understanding people's differences and people's opinions as well. I grew up using words that were nearly like above my pay grade. And so it meant that the kind of friends I hung out with were not now normal.
Yes.
And then I found out that many years later, I found out that if you go to our schools, the worsening education system is helping to kill our nation even more. So back in the days, if you failed 5 times, you repeat the class 5 times.
Yes.
But because of commercial interest now, if there are 32 people in a class, once the term finishes,
32 go to the next
they
class.
go to the next class.
It's a predicament.
They go to the next class, whether they are good or not. And in education, you know, the higher you go, the harder it becomes. So if you couldn't put CAT together, you can't now even understand CART. And if they put an E in front of that,
it becomes
a problem.
A car crash.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Who is actually a creative, Alibaba? What makes a creative? Is there an exclusive cohort of people that fit this categorization? Because a lot of people don't understand, you know, they just hear creative.
Okay, so first off, I think the first thing is to say that a creative is somebody who has extra talent and can take an idea and make something of value out of it. It's the best description of it. David had that creative spirit.
Okay.
He could take an harp, play something out of it. He could take a sling and make a weapon out of it.
Okay.
He could please, he could sing, he could dance. That was David. He was a great entertainer, you know, had his own side issues, the gray areas as well, which also explains why when people start talking about, oh, this celebrity, there's no need to even buy his music anymore. I said, do you read the Psalms? He said, yes. Who wrote it? He said, David. I said, have you any day? He said, I'm not reading this Psalm because the man that did it is a murderer and took somebody's wife. Do you ever sit down to think about it like that, you know? So we all have our downsides. That's it. So I believe that a creative is someone who does the extraordinary using the common things that you see around. So it could be for writing, it could be for dancing, it could be for just another, you know, when the Minister for the Creative Industry was speaking, and she mentioned that the ministry was going to help support public speakers, and somebody was telling me, are public speakers part of the creative
That's
industry?
why I asked that question. Yeah.
I said, are you joking?
Yes.
They help shape minds.
Yes, narratives.
Yes. They help. You may just be thinking of, oh, why do you think consultants are considered creatives?
Yeah.
You have a business, it's running down. The consultant will come and look at the whole business and say, a 360 overview of your business. And then come to you and say,
have you thought about it?
Exactly. Have you thought about like the time that Adidas was losing money because haulage and logistics was eating into their business. They consulted a German guy who said, what if instead of inflating the balls before we ship them, to the people who will use it
goes without air.
It goes without air. And they found out that they could even pack like 30 more balls in the bag, in the box that they were putting only 4 or 5. And it was like, wow. So when they get there, all you then pay for is air. And air is free.
It's free,
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
The star and the celebrity phenomenon is always growing. What is the typical life of a star celebrity? And what do I mean? You know, people lead us into the sweet part all the time. They don't quite understand to share the other part that is not so sweet. Take, for example, you are live in the public domain. It's a very difficult thing to manage and a very difficult thing to put in a box. How do you live through all that? You know, things like reference to point of view of children. No one thinks you are broke when you should be broke. They think you are not a human being. So things like that, you know. So the sweet part we know. Can you lead me into some of the very difficult part that people don't speak about?
Okay, so one thing is there are high moral standards for anyone who is in the public sector.
Okay.
In fact, the same person who is criticizing you for something is actually doing it. But because you are the one that does it, as a celebrity or a popular person, especially when you are a superstar, it becomes an issue. I'll give you a very simple example. If Davido decides to buy a watch of $250,000,
okay,
he earned the money. He didn't steal it.
Yes.
But if a politician who stole money or got his money from undeclared sources buys a wristwatch, nobody questions it. People just feel like, oh, it's a big man. But you know, Davido would buy that watch, and you hear, you want to tell me he doesn't know that there are people who are hungry. Can you imagine? There are people who have not paid rent.
Yes.
This idiot is buying so and so. And then that same person that said it, you see him campaigning for a politician that doesn't even know his source of revenues. A politician who probably went into office after 4 years, have moved from a 3-bedroom to a house in Banana. What does that say?
Imagine the transition.
Exactly. Nobody even asked these questions. You find somebody who, when he went into politics, was living in an estate, now building a large property on an expanse of like 2 acres. And you are wondering, what was his salary when he was in that office? Even if he was a governor.
Yes, cumulatively for 4 years.
For 4 years. Yes. What was his salary? How did he afford that kind of property? Or even afford living in or driving a bulletproof. If you consider how much he was earning. But you see, if an artist did that, you'll be like, he's living above his means.
How dare him?
Okay. The other thing is that in this our business, there are no retirement benefits.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so if you're working in a bank or working in an organization, you know that when you've done like 20, 30 years in that business, somebody will give you a check every month.
All right.
It doesn't happen. So you have to take care of anything, whether it's your retirement, whether it's anything at all, medical.
There's no gratuity in your
There's no gratuity in our sector. There's none. You have to do that for yourself. Again, when you see an artist that has a driver, has a cook, has a gate man, has
protocol,
any of all those security man that go with him anywhere, he pays for every one of those people. But if you have a GM of a bank who earns about like the same amount with this artist, the GM doesn't pay his secretary. The bank pays the secretary. The institution pays the secretary, pays his driver, pays the gate man of the office he works in, doesn't pay the rent of where he works. If he wants to travel, they buy him tickets. But as an artist, if you want to enjoy any of all those privileges, it has to come from your pocket. Which is why, like about, I don't know if you heard about it, about 2 weeks or so ago, the issue was about Arasta, who was, I think, was speculated that, okay, I say speculated because I still haven't checked it out, that she got 100 million from all the performances that she's made. And that she probably had earned 800 million. So why is she earning, why is she getting 100? It is the same thing that happens with musical artists who sign to a label.
Okay.
You sign to a label, you sing a song. Before you even bring the song out to the public, you've gone through recording sessions. It was produced. The song was mastered. All of those processes, if he's a new artist, he doesn't have money to do any of those. So you have the owner of the record label who then puts maybe like, I'll use a simple figure of 30 million.
It's like upfront investment.
Yes, so he puts that 30 million on that artist. He produces the songs, produces a music video to drive the song. He does a media round. So it goes from one radio station, they do interviews, they do this, and then ensures that the artist has a good life. Soft life. So you give him accommodation. He won't wash his clothes himself. He won't drive to the gate, come down and open the door by himself. So you put a guard. You put a house help that makes sure that the house is clean. And then you put a road manager.
Okay.
And then you probably will get him a driver. And then get him a good car. And ensure that every time he goes out, he looks good. All of this is part of that first initial 30 million that I'm talking about. When money starts coming in, and he plays a show and gets 1 million, plays another show, gets 2 million, plays another show, gets... Some of his friends will now say, oh boy, this man is using you. Meanwhile, the man has not recovered his 30 million.
Still in deficit.
It's still in deficit, which is why when some other artists who feel like they've been shortchanged set up a record label, it doesn't take long before it crashes. Because they can't even do the same thing that some record labels did for them. But you see, the audience think that everything should work in the favor of the artist. Some artists are struggling, but if he goes to an event in a Camry, they'll be like, with all the monies they are paying this guy, what is it?
Why is he turning up like this? Looks distressed.
Those are some of the issues. The other thing is that an artist doesn't have his own time.
Okay.
I remember one time I did an advert, and so I put my phone number on the buses. Or we're promoting an event, so we put phone number. So my people were answering the phone number. But when the event finished, I took my number back because my business line. And I get a call at 1 a.m. The phone was ringing, and I was like, this must be important because this is about like the third time. So I pick it and I say hello, and the person goes, Alibaba. I said, hello. He said, I'm just checking to see the number is okay. I said, at 2 a.m. He said, we are your fans. What is your problem? And then sometimes when the person does that like 2-3 times, you block the line. They find another number and call you.
And get to you.
I called you, you blocked my line. We that are buying your video, we that are coming to your show. So what it means is that you do not even have a time for yourself. Your me time is gone.
It's incredible. So I live up. So from what I hear you say, people don't even think you have the right to be broke, for example.
Broke, okay? No, if you go to some DMs,
or we are now twice.
I was talking with Dr. Seeds this many years back.
Yes.
And Dr. Seeds said, "Bros, you need to see my DM." And I went to see. This was when he released Surulere.
Okay.
And so I looked at his DM. I said, I was complaining. I didn't know that yours was even worse. People actually then tell him, please, my daughter's school fees is this, and give him the school account.
You should pay it.
Like you just pay it in, and there are two of them, but that if you pay for the two, we'll get a discount. They give him like he is in charge of their funds.
Yes. It's a fund manager.
and then there's some that just they give you, say, I'm getting married in 2 weeks. I don't have anything.
Yes.
Please, I need to pay for hall. I need to. They list the things they need to do. And tell you, please, the event planner is coming to meet me tomorrow. Please do your best. Do your best. And if you don't do it, they then create fictitious accounts. They create fake accounts to blast you anytime anything comes up. Just because you did not. So it was somebody that called me one time. Meanwhile, there are people who then bank on your generosity. And after you're generous to them, you then find out that they really just thought they could get something.
They're entitled to it.
Nobody expects that you're broke. Nobody.
You can't be broke. So there are other things I've written down here. You know, issues like people, you know, take it for granted. They even say that people who are in this space are not expected to be serious-minded people. Can you imagine that?
Yes.
They have to be done.
I just give you like 3 examples.
Yes.
One is RMD has a law degree.
Yes.
Kanayo has a law degree.
Yes.
It has, between the law degree and this one, there are 2 masters and many postgraduate certificates in between that.
Yeah.
The other thing is that if you go back and check the first degrees of these people, you see 2-1, first class. They're engineering graduates. Teju is Bakassi has engineering.
Yes.
There is, and so many of us have those degrees. Beyond being entertainers, we own our opinions. We can speak on behalf of ourselves and speak to issues in the country. The fact that we're comedians or entertainers doesn't remove us from understanding what is going on in society. For instance, if what you're doing is making the cost of living high, we will say it.
Yeah.
So my saying it doesn't mean because I'm a comedian I should keep quiet. You know, let me tell you what has even happened. This is a quote that I read somewhere in the book. The last publishing of that book was 1948. So it will let you know that things like this have been in people's minds and consciousness for a while. And it said, these days, this is 1948, said these days, the politicians are taken as a joke and the comedians are taken seriously.
The roles are reversed.
So if a politician says something, Dino Melai will say something and you say, don't mind him, opposition. Alibaba will say something and you say they sent him.
Talking about that, you can't even have a political opinion.
Of course not.
And share it.
If you do, you are considered an opposition. You are not considered a citizen.
And you're hammered for that.
Let me give you an example. So we went for Occupy Nigeria protests. You know, if you want to remove the subsidy, you must provide the cushions first.
Yes.
Which is the consequences we're bearing now.
Yes.
We're not saying leave the subsidy. We're saying before you do that, every other thing
there
must
be a landing.
Exactly. So the landing pad, the soft pad must be there for everyone, so that when we go through the hard fall, there'll be cushions. And so we were at this thing.
Was it at ATUNYOTA or something?
No. We were on the one at the island at Falomo.
Okay.
And so the video was everywhere. And then they asked and they said, when the government listens to the people, the government does better, because the feedback channel is the voice of the people. And they played it on like 4 or 5 channels. Now, I had been contracted to MC the commissioning of a naval ship.
Okay.
in Apapa.
Okay.
They had paid advance. The balance was supposed to be paid. Commodore Balola, who then retired as a Rear Admiral. Then he was a Commodore. He was in charge of Western Naval Command in Warri. I was there, done with rehearsals, and tested microphones, and were ready for First Lady to come and commission the vessels. And 2 military guys came to me. They said, "Come with us," and escorted me out of the naval base.
Really?
Escorted me out of the naval base. When we got outside, they said, "Thank you very much, you can leave."
Really?
So I was like, "But I have work." They said, "You can leave."
Worry.
I said, "My car is inside." He said, "Where's the key?" So I gave them. They went and brought my car to me. I got in and drove off. Whatever these are military people.
Yeah.
There's no, this is their base.
Obey before command. Yeah.
So I got in the car and drove. And I was calling Commodore Babalola. What happened? He said, "Oh, that he's very sorry that it was from Villa."
Yes. Order from above.
I said, "No problem." So, and then it hit me that because this was just like 2 weeks after the Occupy Nigeria
protest.
And then one guy from the DSS called me and said, "Ali, I heard that this happened to you. We're sorry. We got an order from Susan. So you know you're our person now." It was because of that. And I'm like, wow. You see, there is...
So this is a prize celebrities pay.
No,
you cannot imagine. So if you are out there, you want to be a celebrity, there's of course the baggage side of it, there's a burden side of it. It's not just honky donkey. In fact, Alibaba, some people even think you corrupt their children just for the practice for you to do.
You see, that is okay. So let me step back a bit and say, if people know that this is a powerful role that people in entertainment space play,
by way of influence,
yes. So why don't they give us the platforms that are necessary for us to shape better minds, and let the people who then create censorship handle those things properly? I'll give you an example. We used to have a show called Tales by Moonlight on NTA. It was one of the biggest shows because the stories taught honesty, hard work, respect, love, empathy, and then teamwork, and then a lot of those hard work and all of that. Respect for elders. The show happened every Sunday, I think, from 5 p.m. or thereabout. The time was yanked off and sold to Zoe Ministries at the time. The churches were on a prowl. They wanted airtime.
Yeah.
And
they pay up front.
So they yanked it off. Now, you take away Tales by Moonlight. I was teaching children this. And so what were the children open to? Cartoon Network. So they are now open to Top Cat. That teaches them that being deceitful. You see, she's laughing. She's watched it. She watched it.
It's being smart.
Knowing that disrespecting the officer is okay. Officer devil. Officer. And the man says, "Don't touch this phone." And Top Cat will come and say, "Officer Devil is not around. Let's just make a call and make a call." And you're scheming to dupe people every time. And the children are watching this. But the stories that would make... We used to have a very vibrant television outfit in Jos. NTA Jos. We had the puppet theater from Jos that gave children a mind and essence that had nationalistic view. Dead.
Anything that's progressive
exactly
has been replaced.
And when you then decide to put a census board for films and everything, your reason for putting a census board is not for quality of production. It's to make sure that they don't put anything in the movie that criticizes the government.
The government of the day.
So it wasn't that your census board was for quality of movies to increase or improve. It was for them to be doused. So if the movie said, "Why is the customs?" charging this amount, and customs made one more, they'll say it can't go.
It can go. What a life! It's it was deliberate today that we brought this topic just so that people can put into perspective the benefits and the difficult side of being a celebrity and the price for super stardom.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Nigeria's 2024 approved budget is 28 trillion with revenue projection of 17 trillion and a deficit of 10 trillion. Do you understand this kind of economics? How do people in the creative or comedy space describe what I have just read?
The first thing is that, the first thing, what is killing our economy is the absence of responding to basics.
Okay.
We have failed to respond to basics. First of all, as far back as the man who was celebrating his entry into Jerusalem with the Palm Sunday today, there was a census every year in Bethlehem. And Joseph and his family always went there to be counted.
Okay. Because
the Roman Empire ensured that everybody was counted to let them know how to provide security, to let them know what to provide, what amenities to provide, how many markets to build, how many wells to build. Don't forget that it's a Mediterranean area. And so water was essential. So the Roman government made sure that all of that was ready. They needed, back then, because of the heat, you hear most times when you're reading the Bible that Jesus met some people by the pool.
Yes.
Jesus went by the waterfront.
It's always something to do with water.
Water. Because water was absent, everybody needed that access to it. Okay. Now, you have camels and donkeys and horses, which are the means of transportation. All of these things, beyond hay, drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
A camel can drink like 50 liters of water, and that's just the beginning. It has 2 stomachs.
Yes.
You put water here, put water
reserve
here.
Tank.
Reserve tank. And so when one is finished, it then changes to the other one.
Yes.
Now, camels were the only things that could go through deserts and go through the storm and everything. Horses don't. In fact, it is in the understanding of all these basics that you then provide the infrastructure that is needed for a society to grow. Now, you failed to do a census. When you even succeeded in doing one in 2003 or thereabout, you said 260 million people. Until protests started, that were not counted. They didn't come to our street.
Yeah.
They left after they went to the fourth house. The fourth house. They didn't get to us. And when the protest was much, you reduced it from 260
to 200. It's magic.
So where did the 60 million people come from before? Or where did they go?
It was imaginary.
And so when the people said that they were not counted, this is something. When the people said they were not counted, and you take 60 out, you did not even go back to then see how you can count them. But you see, your budget has always been on the 200, and then maybe every year they add like another 5.
Meanwhile, the basis for that 200 as in foundation is dodgy.
It's dodgy. The reason you need to have that is to know how many people are handicapped, how many people have physical challenges, then disabilities that you have to provide for.
How many
women are in the place? How many of them will need health facilities?
Yes.
What
Old
schools
age.
do you need to provide? In the times of Jakonde, Jakonde provided more schools then, and the schools are still there now.
Standing,
There were, and by the way, you have a space in like Lagos. When you know that you are limited by space, you don't then build bungalows.
Especially in hybrid area.
Exactly. You then begin to build, and then when you're building schools as well, considering the number of people who are in this vicinity, the geographical expression of these people, you have to then make sure that your schools respond to the number of people in the area.
Yes.
Don't forget that when you build estates, like in the UK, when you build an estate for luxury people, you must build a reflective structure for low-income people in that same area.
They must cohabit.
Exactly. You must be. It is. I have a place in London, and I was asking. I asked my wife. I said, why did this houses, this place drops the value of this place that we have. She said, she asked the same question, and he said it is compulsory. You must, when you build a high rise like this and the luxury, you must build something like this for
council flats.
Council flats.
Yeah. So
the absence of it is what is causing all this problem. So it is not even about the budget. Before you get to the budget, first of all, now you send a budget in. The executive sends a budget in for 20 million. The National Assembly says
it's not enough. We have to spend more.
But before the people who are working on the ground place the budget in front of you for 20 million,
a lot of things went
in. Even at that, we now know that the padding had even happened before it got to 20 million. And then you now increase it to 40 million.
That's plastering.
After the padding, you now plaster it. So what it just says is, some of these things are not just practical. It's like some issues that should have been looked at are not looked at. You don't know how many people okay, let me even come to an issue that is really of concern. You consider that because oil is in the south and the refinery is built in Port Harcourt and Warri, you needed a refinery in Kaduna.
Yes.
Okay, good. And so you lay a pipe line
to transfer crude
all the way to the north to respond to people who need petrol in that area. Meanwhile, the basic thing for life is water. You did not build pipelines to take water from the Atlantic Ocean, desalinate same, and create job opportunity for people who are selling salt and extract salt from that seawater and give them fresh water in the north so that the people who are there can continue farming and doing anything they need to do. You didn't do that.
It's too long term for them.
Meanwhile, you already have right of way with the pipeline. All you then need to do is on top of that, just put your pipelines for water.
You know,
these are basics.
Yes, there's a difference between knowing and understanding, and that's what they are doing. That's what they are dealing with.
No, but what do I know? I'm a comedian.
Yes.
You see, that's the thing. When they said, don't blame the messenger.
Look at the message.
Look at the message.
Yes. Focus on the message.
Okay. You're driving. There's a joke, but it's one of the earliest jokes that I came across. I said 2 ladies on the plus side were in a car. Real convertible, and they were driving, and one man that was coming was telling them, pigs, and the lady said, you're a fool, idiot,
instead of hitting the warning,
and ran into a colony of pigs. Ran dead into it. So it is that when somebody tells you something, first of all, check it.
You stop and think.
So, but what happens is that when you say something, if you say, I've written many things on my timeline on Instagram, and somebody calls me and says, Ali, you know you're not supposed to. You should have brought it to us. There's no need for you to put that out there. Bring it to us. You know?
Yes, we are coasting home now, but I will not forget to ask you. Okay, by the way, there's a message I have earmarked here. It says, good afternoon, gentlemen. I'd like to ask Alibaba because he thinks that a lot of artists face the issue of depression. He said, have you ever gone through depression, especially during the lockdown, COVID?
I think this... something that is close to it would be because I caught COVID.
Okay.
And I need to give a shout out at this time to the Lagos State government at the time for the response that they gave. It's nearly equal to the woman that Adadevo that saved us during the Ebola thing. I refused to let that man leave the hospital. If that man had left the hospital,
have been a disaster.
Because our health sector is not structured enough to even check the spread of some diseases like this. And so when that happened, I didn't pay 1 naira. It wasn't because I was a celebrity. There were many people who were also being treated.
We needed that response.
Exactly. And the governor took charge of it. That is what a government should do. So in my own case, when I got to the hospital, I realized how important health was.
How fleeting life can be.
I was in room 4. And surprisingly, when I got there, they refused to check me into the room. And they said that, the room, the medical director said they should leave the room. Until one Dr. Nifemi came and said, give him the room. So they went and whispered something to her, and she came and said, give him the room. So they gave me the room. It was when I was leaving that they told me that was the room Dan Foster died in.
Oh.
That was the room another person had died in before they brought Dan Foster. So they were avoiding room 4.
It was room for celebrities.
all of that stretch had different people. In fact, there was a pastor that was in room 5, and the man was crying. I said I was going to say this. Man was crying. He needs oxygen. He needs
was
oxygen.
gasping for breath.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the technician that was rolling the oxygen cylinders to us. When I call him technician, the man will flare up. Say he's an engineer. I said, just give me oxygen. Whether you are whatever you want to. So the man will be here. I need oxygen. Then the man will come out. And I say, technician. We say, technician calling me engineer. And so when the man was gasping for breath at about like 11 p.m., there were 3-4 people there that were praying and kabashing.
Wow.
I pulled my oxygen to this. I said, you guys call the nurse. This man wants oxygen. What is all this prayer and all this thing? What is wrong with you people? And then I went and laid down. Then afterward, the nurse came and said they told her to give them some space that they want to pray for her.
Can you imagine?
When I woke up at 6 in the morning, he was gone.
He was dead. Oh, fantastic. We have just like 5 minutes to go. Let me ask you, I'm sure you must be expecting this question. As a pure and proper Warri boy, please define Warri. What can be Warri self? Why is Warri a phenomenon?
Okay, so Wafi is Wafi, Fiwa, Warri area is were the first people to meet these white men.
Okay.
Apologies to every other person. Well, but the thing is that the white men we met were not white.
Okay.
They were Portuguese.
They were colored white.
They were colored white. They were Malaysians. They were Indians, because you know the Indians and Malaysians were the people who worked on boats and ships back then, and some Arabians as well who worked on those boats and so, which is how we got our rappers.
Okay.
The Indians, the Indonesians, and Malaysians,
really?
Thai rappers. Yeah, the Thai rappers.
Okay.
And so back then, our people used to just wear animal skin.
Okay.
And so when these people came, these tops that they wore this over their wrappers.
Okay.
And so before they left, some of our people managed to get some wrappers and some fabrics from them. If you notice, the Malaysians, Indonesians, and those ones that worked on the ship always folded their wrappers up. Okay. Just like the Ijaw people. But when they are out of water, they drop it.
They drop it.
In the other places, the men would have the second wrapper. The Indonesians would have the second wrapper on their necks and tie the other one, which is what the Calabar people, the FX and the BBOs, they do. So they have the other wrapper on their neck. And it is, we then learned from this. So like, there's a lot of words that we use in Warri area. And you see the Portuguese language is descriptive. Okay. And so when we started learning to talk like them, we also started being descriptive. So if a Warri person wants to say, oh, his father died, he will say, oh, my dad don't buy, or my father don't delete. All right? And then when it's time for burial, he won't say we're going for burial. I say we won't download them. Okay. So we use the words. So the words so we're very good with words. Growing up, actually, there's something we used to call wording. Okay. Which is like we just go after ourselves and, you know, try and outword the other person. And this formed the basis for our communication strength. And so we were very outspoken and we're very descriptive, and we infused humor in everything that we said. So Warri, and in fact, a lot of people who were not even from Warri, and when I say that, they will say Yoruba people, Igbo, Hausa. We have a place called the Hausa quarters. Yes. The Hausa people, the boys who grew up there as Hausa boys, rather call themselves Warri boys. They would rather call themselves Warri boys, because it's not just a phenomenon, it's a culture that has been imbibed. It's like the assimilation thing that we were talking about, France and the French before the program started. So we assimilate people into us, and when we bring you into our culture, we let you soak into it. And you then see that it is even better for you to express yourself as a Warri boy than... and sometimes, but the sad part is that when you speak too much pidgin, it affects your well-spoken English. Yeah. As a way of diluting. Yes, I dilute. And you can't blame us, because when we met the white people, we're trying to now speak like them, which was the same thing that most of the slaves learned. You know, the slaves were put inside there. So you have people from Ashanti, the Zulus, the Kanuris, and everything. You all lump them in a ship, and they didn't speak each other's language. And so the only common language of communication was English language. But because they couldn't speak it fluently, they had to speak it in broken English, which was what led to Creole.
Oh, Creole language. Okay.
Yeah, so the Creole language then became the common currency for communication, and that was what the Warri people also picked up.
Fantastic. In fact, I have so many other questions, both from you out there, folks, and then the ones I had put down, but I couldn't check. When I have fantastic guests like this, I normally plead with them that we have a 2.0, which is second part before the year runs out. We're running out of time now, and I'll use the next 2 minutes to ask Alibaba to give us any Nigerian proverb, and if it is possible, a proverb that can define or capture our current economic state, and then his preferred music for the week.
Okay, so my preferred music for the week, I don't know if we can find it. It's from Port Harcourt.
Okay.
Twice father's a cow, twice father's a cow, my landlady, twice father's a cow. It's High Life.
Yes.
And the Rex era.
I think that guy is Johnny.
Yes, and it spoke to, and the other one said my travel and see. The other song was travel and see. Landlord travel and see. Okay. You are here in your house. You are charging us so. Travel and see. Then you would know that you can be a tenant somewhere else as well.
So when you travel, you see. So that first one was Johnny's. I think it's fat as a cow. You were talking about the landlady.
The landlady,
isn't it? And then what would be your proverb for the week?
My proverb for the week would be
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
If a rabbit escapes a trap once, every time he sees a bent tree, it avoids it.
Okay.
Because back in the days when you set traps, you bend the plant down and set the wire and everything on it, so that anytime the rabbit tries to pass that place, it triggers it and then the rope will catch the rabbit. But if the rabbit had escaped any of those, anytime he sees any plant that is bent, in our language is that Oga boss. So it is that anytime, so if a rabbit has escaped a trap that was set by the hunter, every time he sees a bent tree or plant, it escapes.
It escapes. Have a lovely week out there as you go out to your various businesses next week. Fantastic. Have a lovely week and a good.
And that's it on The Discourse with Dr. Ken.